Humanizing your brand. With fake news on the rise in 2020, consumers' trust in what they see online has been steadily eroding. More than ever, people value the truth and transparency over perfectionism in marketing. I think we all saw a lot of like, we're here for you ads near the beginning of the pandemic, and every single business was pushing it. Did it really feel that authentic? Ads that are transparent about what they are selling perform better and are more likely to pique customer interest. Most users today have grown up in a world that's just super saturated with advertising. We've been sitting in front of a TV, kids are just given iPads as babies now. They know what ads look like. So it's really easy for people to discern what real images are from stock images. Ads with stock photos are consistently seeing less engagement at a higher cost per click, and you can check out one of our case studies for that. And due to the increasing preference of authenticity, that is what is driving this change. Consumers will be more attentive to those slightly imperfect photos or videos, even if they're shot on just your phone versus, spending all that money on expensive camera gear. Keep it real, but don't fake it, because consumers really relate to an honest and human brand. There was one study here where a moving company, and I think we've seen this stock photo many times, especially in a renter's guide, one of our own magazines, where there's a family and a bunch of boxes, and maybe the kids popping up from one of the boxes. So a moving company got rid of that type of photo and instead started advertising with real pictures of their team, not paid actors or actresses, and of their actual truck. And they saw a 45% lift in more quotes in their digital marketing. Back to Haley.
So our next topic within humanizing your brand is diversity. Consumers expect brands to be inclusive and reflect the reality and complexity of their lives in advertising. People are more likely to consider and even purchase a product after seeing an ad they consider to be diverse or inclusive. The Black Lives Matter movement has already impacted purchase behavior, with 40% of individuals within the racialized community saying they've changed brands to support the movement. Canada's racialized population is expected to grow to 14 million people within the next decade, and that's a lot of spending power. Millennials and Gen Z value diversity more than any prior generation, and they are now a key home buyer demographic, with the oldest members of Gen Z now 25 years old. I know it seems crazy, but it's true. Those Gen Z babies are growing up. 2021 will also be a year for brands to take a more holistic approach to inclusion. This includes not only race and gender, but also extends to those with disabilities. People with disabilities are severely underrepresented in advertising, and 1/5 of Canada's population suffers from one or more disabilities. Now is the time to make sure you're being as inclusive as possible with your advertising. You can even consider consulting your own team for multiple diverse angles on how to make your ads more inclusive. In regards to diversity and the coronavirus pandemic, 2020 was a big year for social activism, and 2021 will be an important year for brand activism as well. But a tip before you go out and just take a stand on an issue: make sure this is an issue your business is actively supporting with action. Throwing back again to those COVID-19 "we're in this together," which I'm sure you all saw your fair share, most of these ads were perceived negatively by consumers. What some brands did that resulted in a positive response was to speak to what they're doing to help. Calling back to being authentic, consumers want to know that brands are actively supporting the issues they care about and not just using an issue as a sales gimmick. Also, make sure that the issue aligns with your brand's values. Then you can start to take the steps to actively participate before taking a public stand. Keep in mind, when you do take a stance on an issue, people appreciate an empathetic and timely response over a delayed and professionally polished one. So even though we've seen a huge shift to business online throughout 2020, people still want that personal touch. People are now searching for virtual ways to connect. Human connection via virtual sales and online customer support will continue to be important for our new normal in 2021 and beyond. In a Google survey, 59% of mainstream consumers want to easily connect with a human, whether that's through chat or video interaction, even when there's no physical store. We suggest not only having virtual video tours if you haven't introduced them already, but taking advantage of using your staff to create product demos and lead guided tours and finalize sales processes via video calls. So now I'm going to pass it over to Rachel to discuss influencers.
Thank you. Yeah, so influencers are a great way to instantly humanize your brand. Using influencers is a type of social media marketing that uses endorsements from an individual who has a dedicated social following. By working with influencers, you can increase your brand awareness to niche communities through a trusted voice that has authority and influence to drive traffic, growth, and generate leads at a fairly low price. Collaborating with influencers can have a high return on investment, and a huge benefit is you can get in front of potential customers who intentionally avoid online ads using ad blockers. About 26% of desktop and 15% of mobile users use ad blockers. So there's 3 different categories of influencers based on the number of followers they have. Macro influencers have 500,000 or more followers. People typically follow these influencers because they're fans of them or fans of their personal brand. These influencers often have experience working with brands, and they typically produce high quality content, but it might cost you a bit more to work with them because of their experience and high number of followers. Then you have micro influencers. They have 5,000 to 100,000 followers, and next level would be nano influencers who have 1,000 to 5,000 followers. Both of these kind of levels of influencers are usually more localized, and they often have a closer relationship to their followers, and as a result are usually seen as more genuine. Campaigns with micro and nano influencers usually have high levels of engagement with their followers, so your brand can actually benefit from this. One drawback, and particularly with nano influencers, is sometimes their style is less polished, and they might need more guidance from you in the process of doing a campaign with them. So you might think that more influencers is going to equal, more followers is going to equal more influence when you work with one of these influencers. And therefore you might think maybe a macro influencer is going to be the best partnership, but you should actually consider micro and nano influencers. They're one of the best options to get high levels of engagement from your campaign. There's a stat that nano and micro influencers actually generate 7 times more engagement than micro influencers. And it's just because they have that close relationship with their followers. So some tips to consider when you're planning out an influencer campaign. Influencers can create this high quality, engaging content for your brand, and you can arrange permissions in your contract with them for you to be able to reuse that content in other places on your website or maybe your own social media platform and campaigns. We'd also recommend consider using influencers to promote special events and promos. We might often think of influencers exclusively promoting products like an energy drink or a makeup product, but they can also promote experiences with your brand. If you have a show home or a product showroom, you could invite an influencer to take a tour with their family and document that experience. And finally, it's really important to find a good fit for this kind of partnership because the influencer is going to be representing your brand. So allow yourself enough time in this process to find the right partnership.